Okay. Can y'all see that it's recording now? Yes. Can y'all see that it's recording? Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. My screen should be shared. Do you see the University of Mount Olive Student Teaching Internship for Clinical? We see that. All right. We'll go ahead and get started. If I can. I always share this with my students because I like for them to know that as they begin to take on classes for themselves, that there is a state statute which allows for a moment of silence if they so desire to have that in their class. So the University of Mount Olive's response to the pandemic, of course, as you know, and I know that the clinical teachers who are here today, I just want to pause and just thank those who've had our students in the past and who have agreed to work with us again this year. We do understand that it is a challenge, but we appreciate you stepping out on faith to take the challenge to work with us. Each of you will have a supervising professor assigned to you, which of course will be able to help make the connection between the university and the school. So, and between you, the student teaching intern, and of course, you back to us. So that will be our connection. And we'll talk about some different things. But as we go forth for the upcoming spring semester, our traditional semester will start online January 11th, just so you have this information. Our students will go virtual. The traditional students will start virtual classes January 20th through the 22nd. Our traditional students will return between the 19th and the 22nd. And of course, the student teaching interns will start when you start. Usually, if you go back after the first of the year, the student teaching intern will go back when you go back. So there needs to be some type of communication to let that student know that he or she can start January 3rd, 4th, or 5th, whatever it is. Just remember that they are on your schedule. Whatever schedule you have, we are following the protocol for your school system. Okay, so if you have any questions about that, you can of course send me an email. And of course, students are required to wear masks as whatever the policy is for your school system. And of course, the obvious, remain 6 feet if possible and sanitize when necessary. Most of us know, and we talked about this last semester because it was very important. This is the information that was provided to us by the governor. Of course, you know, we had several plans, and the school systems by now have adopted the plan that they have. So in order to house remote learning, and of course, there was remote learning as well as face-to-face learning. So the systems themselves, after a while, decided what they were going to do, and that's all that information is. We know that some schools, I was aware of one school during the election who, of course, had the election at their school. They shut down. They were back in session, but they closed their entire day to allow for the school to be disinfected. The students stayed home. They couldn't come in the entire day. So it's nice, and I know that the clinical teachers can probably vouch for any of this that is still going on, that they're cleaning and disinfecting the surfaces in the classrooms. I have my grandson is in kindergarten, and he's in full session now. They started with a half day, but they still have to wear masks, and I was so afraid that he wasn't going to wear his mask, but they say he's been doing really well with that. And then every now and then they get a mask break. I don't know what that looks like. I wouldn't even ask, but anyway, they do get a mask break. So I'm hoping everybody does. And of course, hand washing for all the students, no large gatherings of activities, and limiting non-essential visitors. And of course, the food service. If somebody's there, I know a lot of times, I know my grandson would get his bag lunch when he was leaving at 12 and go. So I don't know, and I was at a school the other day and they had a cart passing out the meal. So does anybody do anything differently? Okay, and of course they're designated in the hallways, entrances and exits. meals delivered to the classroom, and of course, as we said, discontinuing activities. Um, we teach in 303 and 485. We review rather the Code of Ethics for North Carolina. So for all of our student teaching interns that are here today, make sure that you review the North Carolina Code of Ethics for teaching. And I ask that the supervising professors remind your interns of the Code of Ethics. And I know that the clinical teachers are very much aware of those. So make sure that your student, maybe one day as they are observing, can make sure that they review the Code of Ethics. Most of the students most student teaching interns, if you're traditional, will be enrolled in EDU 493 and EDU 499. Your 493 is a senior seminar, which of course is my class, and 499 is the internship, which is the class that your supervising professor will have. And the information for that class, of course, will be provided by your supervising professor. Now, any student who's enrolled only in EDU 499 may audit the EDU 493 class. It's not a problem, it's not a charge, and we talk about things that are extremely important. If you want to come, we probably will discuss PPAT, and we'll talk about that later. So if you're 499 only, you may audit 493. And of course, both of those classes will take attendance. And for 493, and some of the 499s will ask for a first week observation. Students who go in that first week are to observe. So make sure that you allow them the opportunity to see what's going on, and so that they may summarize their first week's visit. But they will know that they have to do that. Student teaching internship responsibilities include, of course, developing lesson plans, and we'll talk about the lesson plan format shortly. They have to develop assessment plans. They have to develop innovation plans. If they have not already completed the innovation plan, they have to create a research paper if that is not already done. Usually, the paper is completed in one of the core subject areas that the student has in their particular subject area. If you're music, then they probably did a research paper in music. If they're English, they did a paper in English or social studies. They will also, the innovation plan should have been completed in EDU 486 leadership development. So the supervising professor would probably ask for those. So you won't have much to do with that unless that student has to do an innovation plan in your class, because they haven't already done that. Of course, they have to develop a classroom management plan in correlation with what you already have going. We don't expect them, especially if you're an elementary school teacher, you started in August or September when you went back. So we don't expect them to disrupt your class for that. So whatever you have, they can review it, of course, and submit it. It's not a problem. And of course, we expect that they will use the appropriate standards for learning outcomes and attend any teacher meetings that you attend, any professional development that you attend, and anything that you suggest that they do, because they are in your hands. Also, they, of course, as I said before, must abide by the schedule of their assigned school. They must, of course, upload assignments on Moodle for 493 as requested, and 499 as well. And towards the end, they will upload the Moodle student teaching documents that we'll talk about with them, and of course, review the Code of Ethics. Clinical teacher responsibilities, of course, you have to register your personal information. I will send a survey. I've had the hardest time this year. I do not know what has happened. I sent out a Google form, and a lot of people didn't get it. And I've had to resend it. So today I just put the information in an email and send it out. I hate that, because if I had to send 20 out, then that means I'm going to get 20 emails in an already full email box. So anyway, it's easier to do it on the form. Clinical teachers are required to complete the 3 formal evaluations. And a final evaluation, of course, is the LEA IHE certification of teaching capacity. And we'll look at those in a little bit. And of course, we know your ultimate goal is to monitor students while they are teaching. and assist with the development of the lesson plans to ensure appropriate standards are being used. And I know that you will evaluate those lesson plans as the students complete those and submit them to you as well as the supervising professor. Clinical teachers are also required to make sure that the students are introduced in a proper sequence to the classes that they take, the class loads. Of course, we ask that the student will do, we ask the first class or the first subject for 2 weeks, then move to the second class with both teaching both subjects. Then the third class teaching all 3 subjects. And of course, for high schools, that will be it, the three classes. In elementary may go a 4th subject, whatever it is, or it may be a 5th subject, but we try to move them every 2 weeks and add another course or another subject to it. Of course, meet with the student teaching intern weekly and provide feedback, review lesson plans and evaluate those, review assessment plans and evaluate. Now, the assessment plans are embedded in the lesson plan, and we will see that when we get to it. Of course, and I will send an end of the internship survey. Once that survey is completed, you will receive a stipend. Don't spend it all in one place. I normally say if you have your family of 4, you can go to McDonald's and feed your family that night. So, but anyway, it's not payment. It's just a thank you, because I really think that most of you would just probably do it without any type of stipend or any offer of anything monetarily. So we do appreciate you just stepping up to the plate. It is a tremendous task, again, in this challenging time that we have, but we do appreciate you stepping to the plate to do this. And of course, I will have a certificate for you at the end of the process, and it will be 3 credits. Our supervising professors already know what their responsibilities are, and of course, to develop their attendance in Moodle, take attendance at least once a week. If you want to take it daily, that is up to you. Of course, that weekly attendance is to make sure that you have contact with your student teaching intern and make sure that all evaluations are done in a timely manner, the supervising professors as well as the clinical teacher, and observe the student on a regular basis. We ask for at least 3 observations, formal observations. If you need more, that's fine. If you feel like you have the 3 but need your 4th one in order to complete your summative evaluation, that's up to you. But we do ask for at least 3. So the lesson plan, if I haven't lost it, I hope it's still down here. I want to share with you what the lesson plan looks like for the student teacher. The lesson plan, somebody thumbs up if you see the lesson plan. Okay. This lesson plan is in the PPAT format. This is the one we use because students, it helps the students to prepare themselves for the PPAT task that we will talk about. Of course, it's the standards, the learning objectives. Here is the assessment. So if you're a clinical teacher, just make sure that you review this area, all of it, but this particularly with your student to make sure the assessment is appropriate for the lesson and the objectives being taught. And of course, the lesson structure and procedures, the instructional strategies that will be utilized, and because that's the language, this is the language that is used in the PPAT, the learning activities that will be used, and the resources and materials that are used. Our students are required in as many lessons as possible to use technology because it is required for the PPAT. And of course, if the student used any differentiation, any modifications, or had any accommodations for the lesson or for students within that class setting. Were there any, what were the classroom management strategies that were used for this particular lesson, if any at all, and if there were any extensions? And I've sent this already, so check your email. Some of you I may have missed because I didn't have addresses for everybody. And of course, follow-up activity to lessons and additional information. Most of the students are familiar with this because we've used it. I had the junior students use something a tad bit different but if they remember, everything that was on that lesson plan format is the same information that was here. And the other format had additional information. Okay. So let's see where we are. Okay, we just did the lesson. Thumbs up, somebody. Who's my thumbs up person? Earl's gonna be okay. All right. So evaluations, and I did the lesson plan, and now we're gonna talk about evaluations. Excuse me. We expect, as I said, 3 lesson plans. So you're going to the spring. The supervising professor conducts 3, and the clinical teacher completes 3 formal evaluations. We expect one in February, March, and April. And of course, the final evaluation is to be completed as well. Excuse me, y'all. Is to be completed as well. What we try to do this past semester, because we never knew we were going to be shut down because of COVID, we did them as soon as we possibly could. So the sooner you can get started with them. If you feel by the end of January, your intern could survive an evaluation, do it. And then that will cut you short in the event that something happens and we have to shut down. When we shut down, of course, we can go virtual if your school goes virtual. So it is just up to you. There are 3 clinical teacher evaluations and 3 supervising professor evaluations and a final evaluation. Okay. Usually the final evaluation is signed by all parties, the student teaching intern, the clinical teacher, the supervising professor, and of course the principal. And I just taught you a little bit about class load. The supervising professor will help to guide you as to when you think your student is ready to take on the class load. And as I said, first class or subject 2 weeks, second class or subject 2 weeks, along with the first class. And I think you understand that. All our student teaching interns are required to complete 4 full weeks of teaching load. So for high school, there are 3 classes plus a planning period. Well, that high school student should teach those 3 classes for 4 full weeks, and that's that full load. So if for an elementary school, the full load is 5 subject areas, then that elementary intern must teach those 5 subject areas for 4 full weeks, and then they can start backing out of that. So you can back down to 4 subjects, then 3 subjects, 2 subjects. So you just back out as you went in if necessary. Try to get your 4 full weeks as soon as possible, because I keep saying we don't ever know what's going to happen. We hope things would be better by the first of the year, or at least the early part of the year. So just try to get those in as soon as possible. So I want to share with you, we have the observations that we have, if I can find them. The Classroom LEA IHE Certification of Teaching Capacity form is the form that you will use to evaluate your students. And hopefully the same form will be used by the supervising professor. This form is very similar to the LEA IHE Certification of Teaching Capacity, the final evaluation forms. And it says forms will be emailed to you today. I've already done that. So you can check your email to see if they're there. Yay, nay? Y'all see the LEAIG certification? Okay. This is the extended form. This form is very similar to the one that we have to submit when the students apply for their licensure. It's just an extended form. That's for your school, your grade. Of course, the Institute of Higher Ed is the University of Mount Olive, and you know what the LEA is. And here it talks about holding up the code of ethics, accomplished, proficient, developing, or emerging, and then there's room for comments. There's classroom climate and culture. And then there are scriptures. And then it's instruction and the proficient descriptors for that, and whether they met the standards. And I will say this, students have to meet all the standards in order to meet the requirements for licensure. So sometimes if we have a student who has not met the requirements, we kind of work with them a little long in order to help them to meet the requirements or the necessary requirements. And then there's an evaluation assessment piece and the impact on student learning. And of course, the signatures and a place for comments. So let's see. And this is the final form. Do y'all see the final form? Is there a change there? Or do I need to share? I'll share. So this is the final form that will be submitted. You see there, it's very similar. It is actually very similar to the first one, except there are only two places here, two ratings. It's met and not met. And all of our students, as I said before, must meet all of the requirements in order to apply for licensure. And of course, if there's an issue with that, then of course the supervising professor will work with the student in order to make sure that that area has been improved. Okay, any questions? Any comments? Any concerns? Okay, documents that are due at the end of a student teaching internship. Of course, as I said before, is your research paper has to be submitted, your innovation plan, your testing results. Those results, of course, will be the PPAT results. And we do ask the students to take their state licensure test prior to graduation, whether you pass or fail. We do require that you take that. The state will allow you a few years to get it, but it is also important that you at least have that practice before you leave us. And we've had a lot of students to take and pass, so it's important. And here are the tests that we have to take for elementary education. There's a Pearson's Foundations of Reading test, the elementary education content knowledge for teaching math, or they can take the Pearson test 203. And of course, we ask that they take those before graduation. For special ed, they have the same 3 tests, but they also add the ETS Praxis 2 special education, core knowledge, and mild to moderate applications. Okay? So special ed has 1 more level than your elementary ed. There right now currently is no testing for early childhood education, but in order to be highly qualified to teach, they ask that those students would take early childhood education 50-25. Now, in order to teach the state kindergarten, they've been taking some BKs. The systems will do that, but a K-6 elementary ed is more appropriate for kindergarten. But I don't have any control of what the systems do. There is no test for agriculture education because they believe that their content area has enough courses that would provide for them to have the content knowledge that they need. Now, PPAT, and we'll talk about this just a bit later. All student teaching internships must complete the PPAT during the internship. There's a passing score of 38. It was 40. It moved back because of the pandemic. And there are 4 tasks: knowledge of students and the learning environment, assessment and data collection to measure and inform student learning. There is task 3, which is designing instruction for student learning. And task 4 is implementing and analyzing instruction to promote student learning. And of course, task 4 comes with a 15-minute video. That 15-minute video can be 15 minutes consecutive, but it cannot be edited and it cannot be cut. or it could be 3 5-minute segments, unedited and uncut. Those are specific directions from ETS. Questions, comments, concerns? The state, of course, PPAT is required by the state of North Carolina, and it evaluates the excuse me, student teaching interns' ability to impact student learning. And it also helps them to demonstrate the basic pedagogical content knowledge and, of course, classroom application for the information that they have to bring with them to the classroom. It's designed, of course, to develop a more effective teacher in the classroom, to identify the strengths and areas for improvement of practice for that intern. And it allows the student teacher to continually refine his or her teaching practices. And of course, it contributes to the development of a plan for personal growth. So if you go back and you look at, if you submit your task, you didn't quite make enough points, you may need to go back and look at what happened and what you can do to rectify that situation. Or even if you are looking at the LEA IHE certification of capacity form and you need to make some changes because you might have a not met area, I think it's important that that is utilized so that we can help students. So these are the tasks, I just placed them there. And as I said before, just make sure that you can get the task 4 as soon as possible. I've had a couple of supervising professors just tell the students, videotape, videotape, videotape every opportunity that you get, so that in the end, if the videotape that you've planned doesn't work for you, maybe some of the other ones would. I thought I saw Debbie Grady a few minutes ago. I was going to ask her to talk and share. But anyway, Dr. Moore, you've had experience with the videotaping. Anything you want to share? Dr. Moore's on mute. Anyway, so what they need to do, you know, it's 15 minutes. So the more they videotape themselves teaching, even ETS will allow for virtual. I don't think we can do virtual for 3 and 4, but you can for 1 and 2. Now, task 1 is just written information about the student learning environment. And I would say this, task 1 is embedded in our EDU 487, task 2 and 3 are embedded in our class for 485, and task 4 should be in a content area. So most students have been exposed. Yes. Where are you?
Video.
Yes.
I was going to just add, because you said that you wanted me to address it for you. It is good to go ahead and start videoing so that they can have some, because if it does get down to task 4, and that's what happened, you know, last semester with, or last March, that they did not get to do their videos. They had everything completed up until task 4. And so they had to wait. But it is good to have the videos, and just, you know, whenever they are doing a lesson that they think would be appropriate, do the video and save it. And then if they get to have it, they have it. If they don't, they've got some options. And they can do virtual for task 4, but it is difficult because they have to have the children in the virtual. They have to be able to show them, and that becomes difficult. And the ones that I have seen that are trying to do task 4 virtually, it's a little bit harder for them. So if they can go ahead and video and avoid having to do it virtually, they need to do that.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Grady. I appreciate that. If they can do virtual, it's fine. ETS, and I guess for the reasons that she mentioned, is why they prefer that task 4 is not virtual, but it can be done virtual. So just know that it's a bit difficult, as she said, to do task 4 virtually, but it can be done. Deadline for PPAT for all of the student teaching interns. Registration opened in August 2020 for your fall and the spring, but it closes February 5th for the spring interns. And you can reschedule. There's a rescheduled deadline for February the 5th. It closes and you can reschedule or cancel all those for February 5th. Task submissions open. Task 1 is due February 10, but the submission will open January 5th. So if the student is ready, they can submit it, but it must be submitted by 2 p.m. I think on the February 10th. Task 2 and 3 are both due at the very same time, March the 4th. And task 4 is due March 31st. Once the student has submitted task 1, I think 2 and 3 will open up for them. So they can go ahead and get started with that and go ahead and get those submitted. And as soon as you can get them done, the better off they will be. So we're January, February, March, and we hope we can manage through that. And then of course, students, if they don't do what they thought they were going to do, they can resubmit. I think there's a resubmission fee as well. So the resubmission April 21st, and you can resubmit up to May the 5th. And of course it says task resubmission deadline would be May the 12th, 2021. You may find this at www.ets.org. Look under PPAT and you will see the information for registration. And this information will be there. www.ets.org, PPAT, and I think you will look on the registration. And then you will find the dates of submission. Okay, the licensure process. Oh, let me pause. I'm sorry, I missed one thing in the evaluation before I get to that. I have to show you this. Sorry. This is the wrong one. Hold up. Okay. All right. This is the virtual online performance evaluation. If your student teaching intern is online, then this form will be used. It's just one descriptor. And of course, the rating is either met or not met. And it's very simple. The candidate plans, designs, and incorporates strategies to encourage active learning, interaction, participation, and collaboration in an online virtual environment. So this will be added to the other form, okay? So the signatures are virtually the very same, but since the other one, of course, we didn't necessarily need it until we had the pandemic. So we thought we needed to provide an additional performance evaluation piece for virtual learning, okay? Okay, so the licensure process is basically for student teaching interns. At the end of your student teaching intern process, we will come back together and I will have a meeting with you to share with you things that are pertinent to your completing your licensure process or licensure submission. Of course, you'll receive it after the internship is completed. The transcripts, of course, will be needed, but we ask that you wait 3 or 4 weeks before requesting those online from the registrar's office. There is a fee, so you don't want to pay for it, and all of your courses have not been, your grades, your final grades have not been added. So don't get too hasty in trying to submit your documents to DPI because you just want to wait to make sure you have everything that you need. So you will have to have an official transcript. And we'll talk about how all that's done close to time. And this is pushing you all the way to May. The following documents will be needed for your licensure: your transcripts, the LEA IHE certification, the capacity form that we just talked about, your state testing information, your PPAT, and your licensure information. If you are an international student, you might need some work authorization forms completed. And then you will complete the application as requested by NCDPI. There is a login, there's a link that I will provide for you at that time. And I know this is well ahead of end of April, May for you, but your account will remain active for the University of Mount Olive for 180 days. So you can access your UMO account even after you graduate for up to 180 days. And you need to also, and I'll send out, and I hope it'll get out to you, I will send out a form so I can capture your personal email, a good contact number, your personal phone, because a lot of times students will leave us after the 180 days and they'll come back. There's still some things that they need to do, or they didn't get their licensure information completely submitted. So if I have that information, I can reach you. So that's really personal information for our department. There's an application deadline for March the 1st. They may change that. I went by the schedule that was sent out. I think it's pretty much the one for fall didn't change, so I don't think this one will. So just make sure you have everything that you need. I don't know what graduation is going to look like for you. I can't tell you, but anyway, you just need to do what you need to do by March the 1st. Student teaching internship class meeting and dates, of course, will be announced. They will all be Zoom. The clinical teachers, I will meet with you. I usually meet on Tuesday with the student teaching interns. So I will probably meet with you on Wednesday. I could do it simultaneously, but I prefer not, because you may have some questions you want to ask me or something that you like to share. So I just do it 2 different days. And it's usually Wednesday, the day after the student teachers. And student teaching interns Zoom meetings will be announced. For my 493s, those dates will be in your course shell. And I will send those dates to the professors so that if any of those 499 students want to chime in, they will. But I will include all 493s and 499s in the email. So if they want to audit the class, they're welcome to do so. So additional internship information, please, 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 always check your email and Moodle shells daily, your Moodle classes daily. Substitute teaching is allowed. You may be paid. If it is requested by the school system, you follow whatever rules they are. We only ask that you substitute, particularly for your clinical teacher, if he or she is absent. And we don't expect you to substitute for a month. So just within reason. If it needs to be more than a few days, you need to touch bases with your supervisor professor. And of course, they know to contact us and we can discuss it. And it would probably depend on the situation. So you are allowed to sub if necessary, if need be. If you happen to be blessed enough to be offered a job, we do allow for early release, but there is a process. That request must come to this office. Then I will get with your supervisor professor and of course the dean, and we'll talk about if we think that you qualify enough to be released. So it works from that point. So if you have a job offer, make sure that this office receives the information that they need, or call us and we'll see what we can do to help out. It says interns must attend a virtual career service career fair. We're still working on that for the fall students, so I don't know. So that's to be announced. And we ask that you would register your internship. I will have to send that information out to you because I know College Central is changing to Handshake, I think. But I will get that information to you. even if it's doing the 493, 499 classes. And I think that's pretty much it. Are there any questions, any comments, any concerns? I think I have covered pretty much everything. Dr. Moore, Dr. Grady, do you see anything that I missed that we need to cover? Dr. McKay? Anybody?
Hi, Dr. Bell. This is Joanne. I didn't see anything that you had overlooked. No, thank you.
Thank you. For my supervisor professors, I sent out your list. Do you, does everybody accept?
Yes, Dr. Bell, I did have a question. Since this is my first time serving as a supervisor professor at UMO,
Yes.
will we have a connection in an email with the clinical teacher that's connected to our students?
I will get all that.
Students.
I will.
Okay, thank you so much.
And a lot of times if you touch bases with your, and I see on my professor list that I have your name all wrong, but I'll correct that. Sometimes if you make contact with your student teaching intern, they can give you that information as well. But I'll try to do a chart for everybody.
Perfect, thank you.
So Dr. Moore is good. Dr. Casey's good. Lancaster's good. Sager is good. Dr. Ford is good.
Yep.
Miss Gray, Dr. Gainey is good. Miss Grady, are you good?
Yes, ma'am. I'm great.
Okay. Are you great for Duplin and your 4 students?
Yes, ma'am. I'm good.
Okay. I just need to know. All right. Does anybody else have any questions? Dr. Ford, you have Herta, right?
I have Crystal.
Crystal Herta, okay. All right. Interns, let's see who's here. I can tell you who you have. Monica, flow. And I will send this out to you. Let me double check to make sure I have everybody that is present. Okay, here's what I have. Trevor Wilson, Joanne McKay, Dr. Joanne McKay, Miss Lindsay Haddock, Noah Haney, Debbie Grady, Sheila Young, Moniqua Flo, Ada Massey, Alexandria Leonard, Brianna Tendo, Dr. Earl Moore, Ashley Bird, Samantha Bearden, Michelle Casey, Haley Whitaker, Donald Bazemore, Billy Lee, and Amy Bruinton, Crystal Herta, Dr. Ford, Faith Dearman, and Samantha McPhee. Did I miss anybody?
Yes, Dr. Bell, this is Samantha Lyerly. I'm here. I didn't hear you call my name.
I did not call your name. Are you student teaching or working? Which one?
I'm still waiting for the official offer from the school. So I'm going to go ahead and stay where I'm at right now, just in case for some reason they don't offer me the job. But they did say they're still interested. So.
Okay, so just know that if you take the position, then you will have to transition to residency. And then
yes, ma'am.
Touch bases with Dr. Bullock Maxwell, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Any comments? Any concerns? Okay, interns, I'm not sure if I sent you this list or not, but I will send it to you. Noah, did you get your assignment, your professor assignment? It's Dr. Grady.
No, I didn't receive that
right.
email.
I'll send that out. Okay, I'll make some corrections on that form and I'll send that out today. Are there any other questions?
I didn't receive mine either. This is Donald Bazemore.
Yeah, I asked that question because I thought I had sent it to the students, but apparently I did not because I wanted to verify that everybody would accept their assignment placement. So I'll send that out today or tonight.
Miss Bell, this is Ashley Bird. Did you call my name earlier? I know that the Zoom meeting cut me out, and then I got back into it, and I didn't know if you saw
Called you.
it.
I got you. I have you, Ashley.
Okay.
Anybody else? Any questions, any comments, any concerns?
Dr. Bell, this is just a comment to the interns. I just wanted to say congratulations to them embarking on a new journey of internship and teaching. I know that teaching is taking on a new role in a pandemic, but you're going to do well in this, and we're going to support you, and just excited for what you're going to be doing for our students in North Carolina, all across the state. So thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, all right then. We thank you for taking on the challenge, and if you need us, we're here for you. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Dr. Bell.
Yes? Lindsay? Yes?